Hello, and welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we will be going back in time to 2015, in which Season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race had aired. Many people hate this season, and I'm definitely not one of those people, because believe it or not, this is my favorite regular season of Drag Race US. So let's see what would have happened if I was the main judge. In the very first episode, the queens had to present two looks on the runway, spring and fall, and then create a resort wear tearaway to reveal a nude illusion. The second part was so damn confusing, and I do not like this challenge at all, so I'm not going to talk much about it. Violet Chachki won the challenge, which I totally agree with. Her two-in-one look was so iconic, beautiful, and we remember that up to this day. Also, her look on the runway was hands down my favorite one, which means she's still going to take the win. I kept Miss Fame high, since her looks were very strong as well, and she was definitely my second favorite. However, Kennedy Davenport being high this episode was a choice. She was fine, but if I'm being honest, she was closer to the bottom than the top in my opinion. Ginger Minj actually did a pretty good job in this challenge, and I decided to put her high over Kennedy. Many girls did good, but often I had that situation where I liked one or two of the looks someone presented, and in Ginger's case, I liked all of her looks this episode. As for the bottoms, originally Jasmine Masters and Sasha Belle were low, and Candy Ho was in the bottom too with Tempest. What was Candy doing in the bottom? I have no clue, since she did a perfectly fine job this episode, and they put her in the bottom for storyline purposes. Now listen, this reveal portion of the challenge was very confusing, not only for me but for the girls as well. And if it was a regular design challenge without a reveal, I honestly would probably put Sasha Belle in the top. This dress she made was really pretty, but after that reveal, she looked a mess. Jasmine's cocoon was iconic, but I absolutely agree with her being in the bottom three. I wasn't a fan of what Tempest did either, and her previous two looks were also not the best, so she's still going to be lip-syncing, but this time against Sasha Belle. I'm not really sure what would have happened in this scenario, but my money is on Sasha. I think she would be able to survive the lip-sync, which means we have to say goodbye to Tempest, and it's time for the second episode, which was the Rusical. Let's talk about the bottoms first, since we had a really clear bottom three this episode. Fame, Sasha, and Katya were the weakest out of the bunch, but Miss Fame was the least bad, so she's gonna stay low, and Katya's will be lip-syncing against Sasha Belle. I felt so bad for Katya, as she was trying to learn her lines but just couldn't, and had probably the best runway look of the night, yet still found herself in the bottom two. Sasha did not want the role she got at the end, and yes, she had one of the smaller parts. Unfortunately, it wasn't her night. She did not deliver, and I guess didn't crack the code. Ginger's runway look was awful. Absolutely not on theme, but in the challenge, she was the strongest, so at the end, I still gave her the win. Sometimes I use runways as a tiebreaker, but when someone was my absolute favorite in the challenge, she can still win even with a weaker runway look. Kasha Davis and Violet were high this episode, but I decided to put Trixie Mattel high over Violet. She was actually my second favorite. I think it was a really good night for her, and it would be nice to see her being appreciated a little more by the judges. Her runway look was also good, despite what some of the girls had said. How can you say it's not on theme when she literally has a plane on her head? But anyways, Kasha was also great, her facial expressions were cool, and I do agree with her being in the top. Sasha Belle is still gonna go home, because Katya absolutely destroyed her in the lip sync. It's hard to believe Katya won only one lip sync on Drag Race, as she is a really strong lip syncer. But yeah, Katya stays, and now it's time for the infamous Shakesqueer acting challenge. That was a disaster, but it wasn't only the queen's fault. The script itself was not funny, so what were they supposed to do? Even a famous comedian wouldn't be able to make it funny. But anyways, since Max and Kennedy Davenport won the mini-challenge, they were the team captains and Max's team did better by a landslide, so since they were being judged as teams, Ginger, Candy, Jaden, Kasha, and Trixie all will be high, with Max taking the win. I want to highlight Candy Ho, since she did a really good job with a small role she had. Bring her back for all stars, goddammit. Pearl was low originally, which I did not change. It could have been Fame, but I would agree with any of them placing low, so I just went with Pearl. Kennedy was a team leader, which is a huge disadvantage because if something goes wrong, you're the first one to blame. Her runway look was one of my least favorite as well. The beard didn't look good, and the runway theme was bearded and beautiful, so Kennedy and Jasmine did the worst on the runway, and in the challenge as well, so they're still in the bottom too. This was one of the best lip syncs from Season 7. Both of them did great. I was expecting Kennedy to kill it, but Jasmine really surprised me in a good way. If she was up against anyone else, she probably would win the lip sync, but unfortunately she was up against Kennedy, who did a tiny bit better, which means Jasmine still goes home, and we will be moving on to episode 4. They had to create a music video parody of a RuPaul song. I really liked this challenge. Honestly, everyone except for Pearl did either good or great in this challenge. For that reason, I did not put anyone low. Some people didn't agree with Trixie Mattel being in the bottom this episode, but I can see that. But one thing for sure, she did win this lip sync. Honestly though, I'm so happy Pearl stayed originally. Was it rigged? Yes, it was. But Pearl was one of the main characters from this season, and if she went home this episode, we wouldn't have got the iconic "Do I have something on my face?" moment or her Snatch game performance and many more. And Trixie won all stars anyway, so you know what I mean. But anyways, Trixie did beat Pearl in the lip sync, so she gets to stay, and Pearl will be going home much earlier than originally. Now, let's discuss the tops of the week. Kennedy Davenport won the challenge, which was rigged. I can see her being high, but she was overall third in my opinion. Jaden killed this challenge. Her Bianca Del Rio was on point and very funny. She should have been the winner of this challenge. Katya was also really funny, so she's gonna be high alongside Kennedy Davenport. So yeah, we have to say goodbye to Pearl, and now it's time for the DESPY Awards challenge. Max and Pearl came out on top, but to be honest with you, I thought Kennedy and Jaden did a better job in this challenge. They were hilarious, especially Kennedy. In my opinion, they should have won. Trixie Mattel didn't make it to this episode, but I think she would be fine, especially paired with Max. For that reason, I decided to put Trixie and Max high, and I didn't change anything in the bottom 3. Once again, no one was booger boots, because everyone did at least a serviceable job. Kasha did stumble over a one word, but if everyone is doing great, we have to nitpick. Candy was not that bad either, but her and Kasha were probably the least good, so they still will be lip-syncing and Violet is going to be low. Once again, it could be a scenario where no one places low, but if someone has to be low, it's Violet in my opinion. Candy Ho absolutely destroyed Kasha in the lip sync. So she's gonna stay, which means we have to say goodbye to Kasha, and it's time for yet another acting challenge, in which the queens were tasked to reenact whatever happened to Merle Ginsburg from the point of view of Merle, RuPaul, and Michelle. This was such a great challenge, and again, almost everyone did at least fine. However, I changed many placements this episode. Katya ended up winning the challenge, but she shouldn't have won. I'm sorry, she did do a good job and definitely deserved to be in the top. But Ginger Minj absolutely stole the show as Michelle, and on top of that, her runway look was actually pretty good this episode, so she should have won this challenge. Now listen, Kennedy was originally high since her team overall was the strongest of the night, but I decided to judge them as individuals. For that reason, she's now in the bottom 2. As she would say, the struggle is real. You cannot deny she did struggle in this challenge, which was even shown in the edit. Her runway look was bad but iconic, and after all, she was the star of this episode. I decided to put Max in the top over Kennedy Davenport. She did a good job in the challenge and had one of the best runway looks of the season, so she's gonna place high with Katya. Fame was originally low, but I moved her up to safe, as I think she did a fine job in the challenge, and her runway look was also really strong. Plus, in this scenario, Trixie is still here. I'm not sure how well she would do, but I think not the best. At the end I decided to put her low, since Kennedy bombed, and Candy also did not do great, and I think Trixie would give a better performance than those two. I don't know if people realize that Season 7 had many great lip syncs. Break Free was such a good lip sync, because both Jaden and Candy killed it. Speaking of Jaden, they really hated this woman for some reason. She did absolutely fine, and out of the three RuPaul's, hers was the strongest. They also read her runway look, even though it was not even bad. So, yeah, this time she's safe and Kennedy Davenport will send Candy Ho home, and we will be moving on to the Snatch game. Let me just say, originally Pearl was so robbed, as she ended up just safe, even though she was like third, or even second overall. I wasn't expecting her to do that great, but she did, so the fact that she wasn't even high was upsetting. But now sadly she's already eliminated, and Trixie is still in the competition. I don't know what character would she choose to play, but after seeing her All-Stars 3 Snatch game, I decided to put her in the bottom with Max. Could she do better than Fame? Of course, but I'm not really sure if that would be the case, so I just decided to put Fame low and Trixie in the bottom. Unfortunately, Max flopped really hard. It was probably one of the worst Snatch game performances ever. I don't know if I'm not too harsh, but we can all agree it wasn't her night for sure. Jaden was once again thrown into the bottom for some reason, even though she did okay. Sure, she reused a joke, but she started off really strong, and in the original timeline, she should have been low. But this time, since Pearl is not here anymore, Jaden is safe. Now, would Trixie beat Max in the lip sync? It's possible, but in my opinion, it would be close enough to justify keeping Max. She has much stronger track record than Trixie, and if the lip sync is even, track record should come into play. Also, it was a double win between Ginger and Kennedy, which I can see, but in my opinion Kennedy should have won it on her own. Her Little Richard was one of the best Snatch game performances in the history of Drag Race. Ginger killed it too as Adele, but Kennedy Davenport deserved a solo win. So Trixie Mattel will be leaving this episode, but she did a bit better than originally, and it is time for a makeover challenge. In this scenario we have here Max over Pearl, and Pearl was originally the one who ended up winning the challenge, which means someone else will win this time around. Kennedy got to assign the pairs for this challenge, and what would have changed if that was the top 7? Kennedy still chooses Jasmine for herself, Fame still gets Candy, Ginger gets Sasha, Katya gets Kasha, Jaden gets Tempest. Violet was originally paired with Max, and Pearl with Trixie. Since now Pearl and Trixie are eliminated, I think Kennedy would choose Pearl to be with Max and Trixie with Violet. Max just sent Trixie home one episode before, and I don't think she would put them as a duo this episode. That means Pearl will be coming back to the competition, since I think Max would have won this challenge. Her looks throughout the season were great, and she was very ahead of her time. I think she would do something very amazing and eye-pleasing, so she's going to take the win. Violet did really good this episode, so she will stay high, but the other high placement went to Miss Fame. She was originally low, which was confusing, because her looks were cool, and the makeup was great. Katya did a really good job as well, so she is going to be safe, which leaves Kennedy, Ginger, and Jaden in the bottom 3. Kennedy's makeover was fine, just nothing exciting, and the others just did better. However, the clear bottom 2 were Ginger and Jaden. This concept for a makeover challenge was wild, and I don't think it really worked, especially for those two. And in this scenario they both are the frontrunners, but one of them has to go. It's Jaden, because Ginger Minj and Sasha Bell did win this lip sync, which means Jaden will be leaving and still placing 8, but at least this time, she had a much better run. Bring her back for All Stars. I'm still waiting. So the singing challenge is next, and I changed a lot here. Ginger Minj won the challenge, which I'm not gonna lie was a bit random. She was good, but Katya and Kennedy were the clear best duo and had the best song of the night. Cha-Cha Heels was so iconic and they both killed it. For that reason, they will win the challenge. Max wasn't there, but I just paired her up with Ginger and put them both in the top. I think Max would be fine here. The group of Violet, Fame, and Pearl was set up for failure from the start. Their song was the worst, and it was very obvious they will end up in the bottom. Violet was originally low, however Pearl was hands down the best in the challenge out of those three, so even though Violet had the best runway look of the week, Pearl is gonna place low, and Violet is gonna send Miss Fame home. Neither Pearl or Fame did good in that lip sync, so Violet would for sure win this one. That means Fame goes home, and it's time for a dancing challenge. So this time Violet is still paired with Katya, Kennedy is still working with Pearl, and Max is with Ginger. Katya and Violet low-key destroyed everybody else. They won rightfully, so I don't really know what to say, it was just correct. Ginger struggled in this challenge, and I don't think she would do better with Max than with Trixie. I decided to put them in the bottom two, which leaves Pearl and Kennedy as safe. Max will be going home this episode. It still would be heartbreaking, but not as much, because now she made it further than originally. In the Hello Kitty sewing challenge, I didn't change a single placement. Violet ate that up. Her look was very high fashion and gorgeous. There was no other contender for the win this episode. Kennedy Davenport struggled the most. She knew she was going to be in the bottom. Sewing is just not her thing. Her look wasn't giving Hello Kitty either. Pearl, Katya, and Ginger did good, however I have the same critique for Katya. Her look was not really on theme. It did not scream Hello Kitty. I enjoyed Ginger's and Pearl's looks, so they both will be high. Now, normally I would send Kennedy Davenport home in this scenario. That's because Katya has a better track record, and the lip sync was great. It could have been a double save, or any of them could have stayed. However, Katya was not in the right headspace at that time and really wanted to go home. She admitted it when her and Trixie were reviewing Season 7. So she still will be going home, and we have the final four consisted of Ginger Minj, Kennedy Davenport, Pearl, and Violet Chachki. In the older seasons, they were eliminating a queen with the worst track record. Originally, it was Kennedy, but now it's for sure Pearl. She didn't win any challenges in this scenario, but as I said, I absolutely love her and I'm thrilled she originally made it to the top 3. I know it's never gonna happen, but I would love to see her on All Stars as well. The time has come to crown the winner. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 7 is Violet Chachki. I was so happy when I found out Violet won, since I was rooting for her since the very beginning. She was a full package, her confidence is polarizing, and she truly killed it. Congratulations to Violet Chachki. And what do you think? Did you enjoy watching Season 7? And who were you rooting for? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.